So this is Baruch Flashman. You'll find me here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and what's going on is we're back in the Drush Shinos of Tefillos, which is Shara Kabbanos, with the Pirush on the Tiva Kabbanos, which help us to understand some of the more difficult ideas about changes in prayers. Now, yesterday we talked about the concept of Zun HaKatanim, which is actually Yaakov and Rachel coming around to the front of Zeranpin and mating with him, and in the area of the legs of Zeranpin, because, as we said before, that Rachel is located from the chest downwards on the back of Zeranpin. It surrounds him there, and Yaakov is on the front of Zeranpin, the chest going downwards. But in order to be able to meet face to face with Zeranpin, with Yaakov, for the purpose of making a yichud, she needs to go through a process of being surgically removed, which is the whole thing that we go through to a certain extent on Rosh Hashanah. We discuss exactly how that happens, but that's the big surgical removal, so to speak. And so what we need to know is that position, the position that we're talking about. Let me see if I can get this down a little bit. A little less glare. Okay, so now we're talking about, that was in what we call the lachash, the whispered part of the Shemona Esrei. But now we're going to come to the part which is not. Let's see what we have here. That when the Shliach Sibor begins to repeat the Tefilah, B'kol Ram, that is out loud, Oz Me'irim Chesed Gevura Bezun, then you have the Chesed and Gevura start shining into Zun, Ho Omdim Benetzach and Hod Keniskar. So which the Netzach, as we said before, that Netzach and Hod is the place where Yaakov and Rachel are now located. So Netzach and Hod Keniskar. The Gemot Shekasam Decha Bebakom Bechazaras at the Tefilah Chushatz. So it all goes according to the way that I has previously explained it. So he says Bechazaras Hashatz Olim Yaakov Rachel Ben Madrega. So that's what he said when the Shliach Sivor begins to repeat the Shemona Esrei, Yaakov and Rachel move up. So we have to understand that the returning prayer, that's when the Chazan repeats the Shemona Esrei, this is really a higher level for us that we could reach by answering Amen to those brachos. She'olim makom chagat shel Zeranpin, because we come up to the level of the arms of Zeranpin. The Sham Nasa Yechudim, and there's a Yichud that takes place there, but it's at the level of the chest, or it's up at the level of the arms. The Hazun Ashakasa V'Rav Khan, so this Zun that we're talking about here, Haim Yaakov and Rachel, they're the Zun which we call Yaakov and Rachel. In other words, they're called the Zun Katanim, the weekday Zun. Shebenechem Na'asach Yichud Khan, because between them you see the Yichud takes place. V'hema olim ada chagat Zeranpin, and they go up until they reach the arms of Zeranpin, which is called the Chesed Gevura and Tiferes of Zeranpin. V'oz anim mechabrim es shenechem al yedei hayisod. So there, the yisod acts in such a way that it is able to bring a yichud between the right side and the left, which is the right arm now, and the left arm, and this is all the Chazaras Hashatz. V'zecha v'sod aniyas amen she'ana oinim beberchos Chazaras Hashatz. And this yisod is the concept which unites the right line and the left line, is the sod of the amen that we say when the Shemona Esrei is repeated. Kasha oinim amen al berchos hachazan b'chazaras hashatz, when you say amen on the bracha of the chazan b'chazaras hashatz, na'asach hayichud al yedecha yisod. The yisod makes it possible for the yichud to take place. Sha'az al yedecha b'niyas amen, because when you say amen, miyachtim osam, that the yisod joins them together. Let's learn a little bit more. So this particular thing happens in all of the three tefillos. Yaakov and Rachel. So we're talking about, again, during the weekday, the yichud that takes place between Yaakov and Rachel, who b'kol shlosha tefillos Amidah shemispalel and b'kol yom. So we daven 3 times a day. Yaakov and Rachel hema ondim b'tefillas halachash, because they're the ones that stand by the tefillas halachash. B'makom hanetzach and hod Zeranpin, at that place of netzach and hod Zeranpin. Anpin, Yaakov b'netzach, Yaakov is on the netzach side, Rachel is on the hod side. Over Chazara, when the Shmona Esrei is repeated out loud, Olim Heim L'Chaga, they go up to the level of Chaga. Avachov Shachris Olim Ad Pnimis Netzach V'Hod Zer Anpin. Now, this is the part that he wants to make. That in the particular davenings, that there's a difference in the position of where we're at. Let's see what he means. But there's a difference between the three times of praying. V'hu ki b'tefilah shachris, and it's like in the morning time. Olim ad pnimius netzach v'hod zer anpin. That Yaakov and Rachel are in the position of the pnimius of the netzach and hod zer anpin. Of a mincha olim b'mseusa. Then in mincha time they go up into the middle level. So now the Tiv is going to explain this. So he says, so therefore this is the reason why we have to pray 3 different times. So first of all, he's telling us, I'll translate, so they divide the yichud that's taking place between Yaakov and Rachel into 3 different kalim. 3 different kinds of kalim. Shehem kalim b'benimim, there's the kalim of the benimios, kalim emsu'im, the kalim b'ritzayim, and the kalim that are on the outside. You have middle, you have the inside, middle, and outside kalim, and I understood it the 3 aspects of a kli. The b'shachris b'saknim kalim b'benimim, because in shachris we work on the kalim b'benimim. Okay, so there's more than one. Over mincha ha-kalim emsu'im, and mincha it's going to be the middle kalim. And August, then it's going to be the outside kalim. So even though we understand that the kavanah that we have, and we are learning shar kavanos, right? So he says that the kavanah that we're having is that they should all be the same, and they are, in fact, the same. In other words, that we're trying to make a yichud between Yaakov and Rachel, depending on whether it's balachash or whether it's a chazara. So he said, so that they all have the same kavanah. But there's a difference in the tefilah, in which kalim the tikkun is going to take place. If it's going to be from the inside kalim, or b'hitzonium, or the outside kalim, or the kalim in between, or b'sa'im. By yedei tikkun kol shlosha kalim, and by way of affecting a tikkun in all of these 3 kalim, misaknim as parts of shal osach hayom b'shleimos, then we're able to actually set up and cause the flow in the proper direction, in the proper way, of the parts of shal osach hayom, because every day, now he's telling us, has a parts of its own, b'shleimos, in completion. So let's look a little bit more, and let's see. And he says a number kaf tas. So he said, so just as I explained to you, this is the Rav speaking, this is the Ari speaking. How it is the fact that every sphera has 3 kalim. So also there's lots more to be said about this, of course. And from there, if you look over there, then you'll be able to understand this very well. Because over there it's talking about 3 different types of levels. They're the levels of Abba ve'ima, Chitzon ve'imsoi u'panimi. There it's talking about the 3 kalims Abba ve'ima. Here it's talking about Zer Anpin. What we said over there is similar to what we're saying here. The Mavur Sham Inyan Shloshas Kalim, the Bakal Sphera Shal Shlosh Kalim. So he says that every single sphera is divided into these 3 different parts. Shehim Kli Chitzon, Kli Emsoyev, Kli Pnimi. So over there, where we had a proof to this, was talking about the yichud between Abba and Ima, Shu parts of Gavoa Yoser, which is a much higher level parts of. But now it's talking about the yichud that takes place between Zer Anpin and his female part. So there was talking about Abba V'Ima, here it's talking about Zachar V'Nuk. He said, "Mikol makom b'yisod adavar." Let me say b'yisod adavar kol partzuvim. So if you want to know what the basic idea is, so he said, "Kol partzuvim." All of the partzuvim are similar to Abba ve'Ima. Sheyesh shlosha kelim b'kol sfira. That each sfira has 3 kelim to it: an inside keli, an outside, and a middle. He said, "Sfira." B'kachu b'kol madrego, but b'kol oilam. This is the same thing in every madrega, in every oilam. Sheyesh bo shlosha kelim v'sakein. That there are 3 kelim that must be misakein, so that that sfira will function properly. Ovazeh shavim kulam, and this they're all equal. This is Baruch Fleischman. I'm at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and this is the 14th shir in the Ari on changes in Tefilah.